This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1180, Why Dave Ramsey is Wrong About Credit, by Jen Hayes of jenhayes.me. And I'm Dan. I am here every single day reading to you from the best personal finance blogs on the web. And if you enjoy this crazy idea of reading blogs to you for free, it would be fantastic if you could share this podcast with somebody today. You can email them or text them a link to oldpodcast.com. But even better if you're able to subscribe them to the podcast right on their smartphone. It is a really big help to keep this show going and growing. But I will keep this intro nice and short for you today, so for now, let's hear today's post as we start optimizing your life. Why Dave Ramsey is Wrong About Credit, by Jen Hayes of jenhayes.me. First of all, who is Dave Ramsey? If you aren't familiar with Dave Ramsey, he's a personal finance expert and radio show host who has helped thousands of Americans to break free of debt. He's authored books, teaches a class called Financial Peace University, and offers speaking events around the country. Now, I'm a huge fan of Dave Ramsey. Reading his book, The Total Money Makeover, shifted my perspective and changed my life. It inspired me to get out of debt, and my hubby and I recently finished paying off $127,000 worth of debt, mostly student loans. I have so much respect for Dave Ramsey, and I agree with maybe 80% of what he teaches, but there are a few areas where we disagree. The biggest fault I find with Dave's approach is his advice on credit cards. Dave's approach to credit. Dave is staunchly opposed to credit cards and tells everyone to cut up their cards. His advice? Ignore your credit score completely and pay cash for everything. He likes to say that cash is king. While I agree that paying cash for everything is preferable, I also live in the real world. Dave Ramsey resides in a $12 million home. Are there people who aren't millionaires who still manage to pay cash for their homes? Yeah, and that's awesome. But realistically, most people don't have $100,000 plus in cash sitting around. Buying a house without credit. How do you buy a home when you have no credit? It's not going to be easy. There are some mortgage companies that will do manual underwriting, where they ignore your credit and instead look at other factors like whether or not you pay your bills on time. However, many mortgage companies won't do this because it's more work for them. They'd much prefer to simply pull your credit score and base your interest rate on your credit score. If you manage to find a company that will do manual underwriting, you need to make sure you'll even qualify. You won't be able to do it if you've been living with your parents and paying them rent, as many millennials do. My opinion on Dave's advice. Dave's advice on credit cards makes sense for some people, but not for everyone. If you're able to pay cash for a home or you can find a mortgage company that will do manual underwriting for you, then you probably should follow Dave's advice. However, if you don't have the ability to pay cash for a home, you want to be a homeowner, and you're not sure you'll qualify for manual underwriting, then following Dave's advice would be a terrible idea. If you pay off all your debt, as Dave recommends you should, and close all of your credit cards, your credit score will eventually change to 0. Now what? You probably won't be able to buy that $200,000 home you want unless you have $200,000 in savings. My advice on credit cards. If you have the ability to use credit cards responsibly, I recommend keeping 1 to 3 cards open. Pay the balance in full every month so you won't be wasting money on interest. Keep it simple by only charging certain things, for example gas, to the cards each month. When my husband and I had paid off the majority of our student loans, our credit scores took a nosedive because we had closed too many accounts. Once the accounts were all paid off, our credit scores would have eventually become 0. So to avoid this, we opened 2 credit cards. We chose cards that have no annual fee and offer consistent cashback rewards. We've set it up so that the full balance is automatically deducted from my bank account each month, so I don't ever have to worry about missing a payment. It's easy and convenient, and our credit scores increased from 650 to 750. This approach might work for frugal people, but what if you're a spender? If one spouse is a saver and the other is a spender, one option is to have the frugal person manage the cards. My husband is a spender, so I manage his credit cards and my own. We know it would be too tempting for him to have a credit card. What if you're single? If you're a spender and you're single, you'll need to weigh the pros and cons of getting a credit card. How much can you boost your credit score by opening a card? Will getting a lower interest rate on a mortgage be worth the potential risk? You know yourself and your situation the best. Do what makes the most sense for you. Keep in mind that if you end up racking up a bunch of credit card debt, that isn't going to help your credit score. Credit matters. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan, as I said, but I don't agree with his assertion that credit scores don't matter. That's true for some people, but certainly not for everyone. Do what makes the most sense for your particular situation. You do you. You just listened to the post titled Why Dave Ramsey is Wrong About Credit by Jen Hayes of jenhayes.me. And that's going to do it for another edition of Optimal Finance Daily. I will, of course, be back with you tomorrow, as usual. So I'll see you there in the Wednesday show where your optimal life awaits.